everyone, and welcome to our Rally Turkey kitchen table. And what a kitchen table this is.
Can I make a point, please? Are you just now saying that it's our kitchen table? You just said it was your kitchen table. It's yours or it's ours, Colin. Which is it?
It's our kitchen table, honestly.
You get that, George?
He's a difficult one. He really is a difficult one. But it's Rally Turkey week, folks. It's quite remarkable, you know, having waited 6 months for a rally. Well, they're all coming together now, aren't they? So a lot to talk about. George, fantastic to have you at the kitchen table here in Marmaris.
Our kitchen table.
Our kitchen table.
Kitchen table to me. I'm just a
So
guest.
boys, let's kick off. You know, Rally Turkey, it's been on the calendar, this version of Rally Turkey for the last couple of years. This is the third year of a 3-year deal, David, and it has proved to be the most demanding rally on the calendar. Let's talk a wee bit, lads, about why that is, David.
It's quite simply, it's the terrain, isn't it? It's the rocks, it's the heat, and it's the twisty nature of the roads. You know, the fact that you can't get any speed up means you get no airflow in the car. The engines run hot.
Kilometre after kilometre like that, and then this incredibly fast bit just to break your rhythm, and then a horrible
Back
little
into
twisty
another-
bit with kicks and compressions and first, second gear just ripping the road out like
And the rocks out, more importantly, ripping the rocks out. So the second run, or the cars behind, hit those and get a
It's
puncture.
an interesting thing for me because you know, the roads here are not over prepared. I think in some countries you see roads that are really, really well prepared to the point of being over prepared. I remember when I came here first, it was the candidate event 3 years ago, and we were with Michel Mouton. We're in a convoy looking for new stages. And we stopped halfway through one of the stages, and the guy jumps out and says to Michel, "Oh, well, if we do this, we'll put the grader over it, we'll put a blade and we'll get it all nice." And Michel went, "No, you won't. If we use this road, you will leave it as it is," because it's a different sort of challenge. You know, we've kind of lost that. It's kind of Africa, George. It takes us back to your days in Africa.
But it's Acropolis, isn't it?
It
I
is
know it's probably not.
Acropolis,
You can't compare Greece and Turkey right now. There's political
I
situation.
noticed the teams were testing up at Lamia.
Lamia,
They were
and-
along the old Tarzan
Yeah.
stage out towards the ski resort.
Yeah, Parnassa.
Parnasso ski resort, exactly. Incredibly tough stages around there. And that's where Acropolis got its reputation, in that group of stages. Further south, down towards Atia, a bit smoother, faster, up the Bauxite Way. Gorgeous stage. Finishing character, the width of the road's like Australia, the surface almost like asphalt but on gravel. Fantastic character. And we're getting the similar sort of differences here, but they're not geographical, they're metre by metre.
I have some news.
So what
I
a
have some news,
challenge.
by the way. I have some news about Acropolis, boys. I was there last week in Greece for the Hyundai testing. And you know, it's looking really positive for a return to the Acropolis. It's all still a little political, obviously, but you know, they have the will, they have the team there, they have the backing of the Sports Ministry, and most important, they have the backing of the Prime Minister. The budget will be there. If there's a deal to be done, they're in a position to do a deal. That's quite exciting, isn't it,
Well,
to go
what
back to
a
Acropolis?
tremendous rally to go back to the history of that event, the picturesque nature of it, and wouldn't it be amazing if they actually allowed it to geographically visit the places it used to? We're at a time of change in this championship, and what an opportunity to change things in an incredibly respectful way for our history. I don't know, maybe that's a bit much to...
No,
to
but
ask
if you
for.
look...
Nostalgia is a good thing, George.
But if you look back
you
at
know,
those historical pictures of the Acropolis, the start outside the Acropolis, you could track that event's history all the way back, and that's so important.
But the great thing about the Acropolis was that it was a very different challenge from anything else, any of the Mediterranean rallies, any of the gravel rallies. And to some degree, this rally's picked that mantle up, you know, because it is different. You can't really compare it to anything else we see on the calendar.
Nobody ever crashed in an old Acropolis rally. They broke their cars.
Because they were respectful of the
They were
of the
respectful,
speed
and I
and the-
remember being there, and Henry Toivonen crashed his 037. It was before he hit the peak of his success, and he nearly got sacked from Lancia for that, because they were so upset. You crash. You don't crash on Acropolis Rally. Your car might break, but you never ever crash a high-speed crash. Nobody did it. Latterly, I remember 2 Toyotas parked on top of each other. They did crash. And I can remember, even prior to that, I can remember Ari Vatanen being parked on top of Hannu Mikkola, or somebody. There was 2 Fords off, and they were literally parked on top of each other. We
That was
emulated
the
it.
famous one, wasn't it? The
was
two
it.
Rothmans cars.
The 2 Rothmans cars, that's right. Yeah, that would be...
But it's the same deal here, though.
I was
You
gonna
don't-
say, does
you
that
don't
give
really
us-
get those high-speed accidents. I mean, you look at Thierry's accident here last year. You know, it was that slow left-hander in the dust, and it just fell off the side of the road, didn't it? And that's typically That's what you get here.
Does that give us some idea then of the approach that's needed for this rally? So it is an approach where, you know, it's not about flat out speed. You do have to take
Yeah, but
consideration.
I said exactly this to Tanak on the phone last week. I said, you know, what is the approach? You cannot go flat out. And he said, of course you go flat out, but you go flat out to a sort of limit. And you then, the skill in this rally is gauging where that limit is now and where it's going to be.
Here's
on
the
the
thing,
next.
David. I spoke to Evan Brynilsen, and he said the thing, it's as fast as you can go, but you always have to have a margin. You have to maintain a margin. And okay, he's in an R5 car, so it's different. But the margin, when you come over a crest, George, we saw some of them the other day.
And the rocks
in the
road.
middle of the road.
Yeah.
He said that's the biggest one. The rocks at the side of the road, not such a problem. But you want to be able to give yourself a margin to go around those rocks.
Yeah.
So that's it's finding that pace and that rhythm that I suppose is the important thing here, isn't it?
It is, and equally, there's opportunity though to take. And that's where they're going to have to gamble now. You know, somebody like Thierry, he can't sit back on this rally and just wait for it to happen.
He has to win.
He's got to go out and he's got to try and win it. And the way to do that is to attack and gamble early doors. I mean, for me, if you sit
lay a
back and
marker
wait,
down to say,
you can't sit and wait for everybody else to
me.
fall off.
Yeah.
I mean, without a doubt, all the cars are going to meet rocks on the road. You're going to hit rocks. So that's a bit of a gamble.
Yeah.
And it's how much you actually choose to keep in reserve, so that as you come across that crest, you're committed to your line. But have you got enough latitude to just lift the car a little bit and maybe bring it just an extra few centimetres higher? Do you start with your ride height a little bit higher? That'll be a hard one for people because you do immediately sacrifice performance.
And precision, don't you, in the car? You know, in the high speed, then it just unnerves anybody that's.
I don't know how much high speed there is here in relation to the low speed. I get the feeling that the ratio's very much in favour of the lower speed stuff, but there's enough of it to make a difference.
There is.
Probably
And this is where we think, you know,
40 per second's
Toyota's
worth
problem.
of performance. Yeah.
Exactly, Toyota's problem in the last 2 years here is that you raise the ride height and it completely
Well, 2 years ago
undermines
they
the
did win.
stability.
They did
Yeah,
win
but 2 years ago, you know, Tanak, by his own admission, he won because everybody else fell off.
And he, if you remember 2 years ago, he was in
Ninth
an old
place
spec
or
car.
something.
He was he didn't have the uprated engine in the car, did he? So he knew from the start he was effectively down on power, so he wasn't going to win on speed. He knew that from the start.
And he was 8th or 9th.
And the car
at the
was a
end
little bit more fragile at that time as well.
Yeah, it was. It was. But equally, you know, we talked a lot about Hyundai's victory in Estonia and how great that was that they'd upped their game on fast gravel. And then there was this great debate, wasn't there, in the last week or so about, you know, how much has Toyota done on rough gravel, and Sébastien Ogier said at the end of Estonia, you know, let's see how we got on in their playground. We kind of forget who won Mexico. It was Ogier in a Toyota, you know, so I think we can already take it as read that they've solved a lot of those hot, rough gravel rally issues.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. But, you know, the feeling I get from being at these tests with Hyundai this week is that, again, you're nothing. They'll never tell you anything, and we've discovered this. But you can gauge how a day's going. You know, if a driver is smiling when he's out the car, if he's happy to talk to you, generally you can gauge that probably means it's been a decent day's testing. The feeling that I got, and speaking to people who did talk to the engineers in the team, was that Hyundai were really, really pleased with the way things had gone. There is pace and there is performance, there is handling and there is reliability in that car now. So they're giving their drivers what's needed to potentially drive for the win here.
But again, there's not a great record here. You know, 2 third places in the last 2 years.
Yeah, we forget that Citroën did very well last
We
year,
did.
didn't they?
They were 1-2.
Ogier won with Lappy second.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's a question of, I mean, without a doubt, the car is so important to it, and maybe that's the core of it. And then getting your drivers into the right frame of mind so that they're just slotting in with the right pace, with the ability to carry the car on the odd little time that you need to carry the car, or if it's strong enough to take that big impact. Because let's be honest, it is going to get the big impact.
Of course it is.
It is going to get that.
So who do we think, boys?
Can I just ask George a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Who, in terms of rough gravel rally drivers that you ever worked with, would maybe Bjorn Voldegard, was he one of the best? Who was the best for you that you ever worked with on this kind of, if you could take one driver you've worked with and bring them here?
Right, okay. Gosh, that's a hard one. I think ultimately, looking back over everyone, Tommy was pretty amazing because he, I know everyone just tended to think of Tommy flat out or bust, but he was actually a master tactician.
Yeah. Won the safari on his first attempt.
Which was incredible.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and he did that based on a briefing from the man I'm going to choose as my driver to have here, which is a tough call because his memory in terms of competition is slightly tainted because he stayed too long, but it would be Juha Kankinen.
Really?
Juha Kankinen was a master of this. He was not quite as wily as Bjorn on the safaris. He didn't have that depth of experience going back into the 70s that Bjorn had, but my God, he was amazing.
Yeah.
4-time world rally champion, and he didn't have to win rallies to do that. Of course, he did win rallies, and he won incredible rallies, but in terms of measuring that pace and then relaxing and not making mistakes, God, he was good.
Yeah.
People forget how good Juha Kankinen was. People talk about Colin McRae, won world championship and incredibly flamboyant. They talk about very fondly of Ari Vatanen, won championship and 5 million cars crashed.
Yeah.
But Juha Kankinen, what an absolute god he was. In terms of drivers that I haven't worked with on this, you can't unfortunately go past, I say unfortunate, far from unfortunate, Sebastian Loeb.
Loeb?
Yeah.
What a record he had at the Acropolis Rally,
But I'm talking obviously about at their peak.
Well, let's talk about Loeb. Let's talk about Loeb then, boys, because Loeb returns for the first time.
You were going to touch George then, weren't you?
I was just about to, but we're not allowed to do that. We've got to maintain a distance. I almost smacked your knee, George. Let's talk about Loeb. David, you've written a piece today that says that maybe this is his last outing. I think that's a reasonable shout. It could be his last outing. I've just dropped my mic, but I think it's okay, cameraman. I think it's okay. Oh dear. Oh dear. Well, just check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Good. All is good. We'll continue on. Let's talk about Loeb. David, you've written that piece that says this could well be his last outing.
Yeah.
Can he go out in an absolute blaze of glory here? Can he win this event?
Yes.
That's a tough one though to win.
It's not because of everything we've said. Everybody that's in one of those cars has a chance to win this rally.
Yes, that's
depending
true.
on how you play it, and Loeb potentially is one of the ones. Great position first, on the road on Saturday morning.
In terms of cleaning for pace,
but could have some rocks out.
Well, he's going to have
There's
rocks.
There's an absolute compromise there, isn't there?
He'll have the traction, but that gives him the ability to lift the pace and carry the car.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And he'll be able to give the pace but carry the car because the road will be clean.
And he's got experience of doing that.
He's got massive experience of
Do
doing
you
it.
know what? I think he won Acropolis, but he was the master in Argentina. And Argentina is about being able to make good pace notes, particularly for the second pass.
Yeah, when it's
Argentina, when it's dug out, knowing where the road digs out, knowing where the rocks come into the roads, and he could make almost perfect pace notes. If he's made a good set of pace notes for this event.
But has he, Colin? There's the thing is,
he
did that at the peak when he had the energy and he had the ability. I mean, for goodness sakes, he'll be absolutely fresh. He'll be champing at the bit. It's only 2-day recce, so why would you not?
How much do we think he wants to win
Well,
this
if he's
event?
thinking the same as everyone else is saying, that this is my last event, he's going to think back to one of his big rivals early on that was just about finishing the sport as he came to his peak. It's Tommy Mäkinen. Tommy Mäkinen finished his last rally in 3rd place in a car that wasn't his in reality. That Subaru was not Tommy's car.
I think he'll be, he will be motivated, and he will have the opportunity because he's not in a championship fight. The one thing that could get in the way of it is if Mr. Adamo puts some team orders down, which of course we've seen him do plenty of times in the past, and that is very possible.
He may choose to just disregard that and
He may
say,
well choose.
thanks Mr. Adamo, I've given you X, Y, Z, there's a win, I don't care about your championship.
So let's talk championships, boys. Let's talk championships because it's getting interesting for both drivers and manufacturers. Oyt Tanak, to me, is capable of winning any rally right now, and it's probably favourite. We said at the start of Estonia, he might well have to win the next 3 or 4 or however many rallies there are to win the championship. That's very possible. But what's he going to do? What's he going to do? Because he needs to win, and he also needs a performance from Loeb. He needs a performance from Sordo to get between him and Ogier.
He doesn't.
I think he
if
does.
he wins every rally, the difference
Well,
it depends on the power
rally, then
stage.
you're right,
But
he doesn't.
the championship
Yeah.
is in his own hands, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is. It is in that regard.
You know, he's not too
If
far
we have
behind.
2 or 3 rounds left, which hopefully we will at least have 2 or 3 rounds.
I think I did the maths that if he did exactly the same that he did in Estonia, here, it's down to 2 points going into Sardinia. And so, you know, it is. I think we can safely say now it's a 3-horse race. We got to rule Calais out. You know, he's 24 points behind, but it's anybody's. And for me, you know, the odd thing is that we keep kind of overlooking Alvin, who is absolutely near
In
9
the
points.
championship
Don't
as well.
forget, this is where it all turned round for Ogier in, was it 2 years ago? In the what was the first year?
When
First
he
year.
fixed the car and went off.
No, he was miles behind, and he won this event.
That was last year.
No, it was the year before in the Ford. It was the second championship in the Ford. He was
Toyota
a long
won.
way behind.
Toyota
and he
won.
won this event. His
He
main
didn't
rival.
win.
No,
Tanak
Toyota won.
Tanak won. Well, he did well in the event. And
went off.
He got himself.
He super rallied. He fixed the car and then Saturday afternoon first stage went
What
off.
event am I thinking of then? But there was a massive turnaround at one point in the year where Ogier then got his title challenge back on track.
This undoubtedly, this event will have a massive impact on the
Because what
championship.
happened that year with whoever the driver was, his main rivals had a terrible event, and that's possible here.
Yeah.
So, which is why we perhaps shouldn't write off Calais and the others, because it's very possible that Ogier and Tanak could have difficult rallies here. And then the championship is
It's
3 or
wide
4
open,
drivers.
yeah.
It's wide open.
Yeah.
But that's so likely to happen. You know, we've talked about Ott is going to have to go for it. Ogier is going to be thinking defending, but he'll also realise that he can't really play
This
the
was last
defence
year.
game.
You're right.
He's going to have to go for it. So those two guys are going to have to really go for it.
They are, 100%.
So, and if Elfyn just says, "I'm going to
Beautiful.
sit,"
Can you see that,
I'm going to
cameraman?
sit here
Can you see
and,
that or not?
and,
Hang
and
on.
wait.
Look at that boat, George. Isn't that lovely? Just with the sun on it. I don't know whether it's going to be possible to see that.
You
That's
interrupted George for a
I'm
boat.
sorry. I just like the look at that boat. I'm
Unbelievable.
sorry, George.
We're
I
here
know
to
you're a
talk
man who
about
likes
cars,
boats.
not
He
boats.
likes a most ugly ferry boat with
That's
a
nice.
nasty, a
What's
nasty
wrong with
old
it?
8-cylinder inline diesel engine. I can hear it. I can count the cylinders in it. It's a nasty old smelly thing.
George, what were you saying?
There's
Sorry, I
beautiful
like your
yachts
boat.
on the other
You're right
side.
though, because Tanak said exactly this. I
Yeah,
said that
they're all going to have to go for it, which is going to make
Yeah,
for the
they've
most
all gotta go
amazing
for it.
competition. Are they all going to survive?
No.
Seems so unlikely. Seems so unlikely.
They
Are they
can't.
going to shed? Yes. Where does that leave us? That leaves us with Elfyn being smart if he wants to.
I think Alvin has to try and be smart.
Yeah. Or is he going to try and push for a win
No,
too?
I think he has to be smart.
and be one part of the group, because he must. I mean, he's got the same chances that what Tanak's got. Better, slightly better. So why would he not push for it? So you maybe got those 3 guys all pushing, and then you got Mr. Rovanperä just a few points behind. Now he can box clever. He can say, my only chance here is to win and those guys to go off, so I'll just sit behind them and let them fight. Bang, all of a sudden.
The nightmare here is though, isn't it, that you know, Saturday morning you take a couple of stages and you think, right, I am going to let them let's settle down, and then you could be a minute down.
What do we think? Predictions then for the weekend. Who do we think is going to come out of this weekend in the strongest position, David?
I would say still Sebastian Ogier. He's been here, he's done it, he's clever, he's made his mistakes here. I think he'll be pretty smart.
He was very smart last year. I agree with you. George?
Yeah, I'm afraid I think I have to go with Sebastian Ogier, still leading the championship, because I think he is smart. But it's a massive but. I think whilst he won't succumb himself to personal pressure, I think just the strategic situation says he's going to have to push for it, which puts him into that dangerous mix of there's a rock in there somewhere with your name on it. Are you going to be able to carry it over? I can't believe that there's in terms of, I know there's such a gulf of points between them. What is it, 12 points between them now, is it?
It's from Ogier to Alvin it's 9, and from Alvin to Tanak it's 6 or 4. 6.
It's not enough for Ogier to relax. It's not enough for him to accept second place and then have to push like crazy on the power stage. It's not. He's going to have to actually try and beat him outright, and this is a good one to do it on. So it's going to be the most incredible tactical game between those two, because they're going to be pushing for pace, and it's just a question of who's going to judge it. Ott's very good at it. Ogier is supreme at it, but we've seen him get flustered in the past. No, I think the winner of this rally has a 50-50 chance of being someone that's played the waiting game.
Yeah.
And that,
I agree with that totally.
And that,
I agree with that totally.
oddly enough, there's just an outside chance that Sebastian Loeb could do something incredible. I wouldn't necessarily say he could win, although I don't think it's out the cards, but it would be one of those amazing events where everything happens. But I think the pace at the front is going to be like that. And when the pace at the front's like that, they're going to drag so many people with them. The Ford guys are going to see what's happening at the front. I can't be seen to be not as quick as these guys. They're going to lift their pace. You know, I mean, I know that their team managers told them not to lose their nerve, not to let their heads drop, but crikey, the pressure's on so many guys. Who's the person here on this rally with the least pressure in a top car? Sebastian Loeb.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
100%.
He is the
No
man.
question.
Yeah.
He has a bit of a job to do with the Manufacturers' Championship and you know, making sure he's there or there.
By his token, that's no pressure at all.
He is a real gunner, isn't he? You know,
is-
he's
he
got
is.
it.
I'm not saying it's pressure, but I'm saying it's a job to do. I'm saying it's a job to do. So he's not.
Yeah, but he's
you know,
more than capable of that
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
100%.
No question. You know, if he's there to pick the pieces up should anything happen, he'll do that all
But
day long.
that
I
would be
guess.
an exceptional, amazing event if that happened. They do come every now and again. Wouldn't it be wonderful it happened here? The terrain, the event is set to do it for us because my God, it's tough out there.
I'll tell you what I think, as I wrap it up. I thought Rovanperä was going to win in Estonia. I think Rovanperä is going to win here. I think he's got something up there right now. He's got intelligence. And as George and David have said, you know, you're going to have to use your head in this event. And that young man lacks experience, but he has pace where he can show the pace. He's got intelligence where he needs to show intelligence. I think Rovanperä might surprise us all here this weekend, boys. He might do. But there we are. Folks, listen, gets underway this event. Friday afternoon, early evening. We have 2 stages that kick off Friday. 6 on Saturday. 4 chunky stages on Sunday.
If the cameraman looks in the background,
Oi,
give
who's
Mads
that?
a shout.
Is
Mads,
that Mads Osberg? There's Mads Osberg. I don't know if we can see him. Give us a wave, Mads.
a long distance wave.
Yeah, we're not actually allowed to talk to the drivers, David. So, folks, don't forget dirtfish.com for all the news, all the updates as the event unfolds this week. There will be 1 or 2 more kitchen tables for you to enjoy as well. But from myself, from David, from George, thank you very much for watching us at our improvised Turkish kitchen table.